Someone told you this sentence at some point in your life, and you probably believed it without question. There's good debt and bad debt. Credit cards? Bad debt. Payday loans? Bad debt. But a mortgage? A student loan. A car loan to build your credit. That's good debt. That's smart debt. That's the kind of debt successful people use to get ahead. It sounds so reasonable, so official, almost like a rule of finance carved in stone somewhere. But here's the question. Nobody asks, if good debt is really so good, why are so many people who followed that advice still broke, still stressed, and still decades away from actually owning anything? What if the entire idea of good debt was never really about helping you build wealth? What if it was about helping someone else build wealth using your name, your signature, and your future income? Stick with me, because by the end of this, you're going to look at every loan offer completely differently. Let's start with how this idea even got into your head in the first place. Think back to the first time you heard the phrase good debt. Maybe it was a parent explaining why buying a house was smarter than renting. Maybe it was a financial advisor explaining why a mortgage is different from a credit card. Maybe it was just something you absorbed from society, the same way you absorbed the idea that college is the only path to success. The logic sounds solid on the surface. Good debt is debt that helps you buy something that grows in value or increases your income. A house appreciates. An education increases your earning potential. A business loan helps you build something bigger than yourself. Bad debt, on the other hand, is debt used to buy things that lose value the moment you buy them. Credit card debt for clothes. A loan for a vacation. Financing for a television. Simple, right? Debt for assets is good. Debt for consumption is bad. Except this definition has a massive blind spot. It completely ignores the most important part of any debt, whether you can actually afford it and what it does to your life while you're paying it off. Let's break this down with a story, because numbers on their own don't mean much until you see them play out in real life. Meet two people. We'll call them Alex and Jordan. Alex graduates college with $60,000 in student loans for a degree in a field that pays around $45,000 a year to start. Everyone around Alex says this is fine. This is normal. This is good debt, because it's an investment in yourself. Jordan, on the other hand, borrows $15,000 to buy a used car so they can get to a job across town that pays $50,000 a year. Everyone around Jordan says this is risky. This is bad debt, because cars lose value the second you drive them off the lot. Now here's the twist. 10 years later, Alex is still paying off that student loan, because minimum payments barely touch the interest. The monthly payment eats into raises before they ever feel like raises. Alex feels stuck in a job just to keep making payments, even when better opportunities come along that pay less at first. Jordan paid off that car loan in 3 years. The job across town led to promotions. The paid-off car became a stepping stone, not a monthly burden. Jordan is now investing money every month that Alex is sending straight to a loan servicer. So which one was actually the good debt? According to the traditional definition, Alex made the smarter choice. In reality, Jordan is in a stronger financial position. This is the first crack in the idea of good debt. The label was never really about the debt itself. It was about a category. And categories don't pay your bills. Cash flow does. Now let's go deeper, because there's a psychological reason this myth spreads so easily, and it has nothing to do with math. Humans don't like feeling like they made a bad decision. Debt, by nature, feels uncomfortable. It creates a subtle sense of guilt or anxiety, even when we don't say it out loud. So our minds look for a way to make that discomfort disappear. Calling something good debt is a mental shortcut. It's a way to turn a liability into an identity. Instead of thinking, I owe a large amount of money and I'm not sure how long it will take to pay off, people think, I'm investing in my future. One of those thoughts creates anxiety. The other creates comfort. This is called cognitive reframing, and it's incredibly powerful. It's the same reason someone buying a car they can't really afford will say, "I need this for my image," instead of, "I'm stretching my budget for something that isn't necessary." The words we use to describe debt change how it feels, even when the debt itself doesn't change at all. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The financial industry knows this. Banks, lenders, and even schools benefit from you believing in the concept of good debt, because it removes your defenses. If credit card debt feels dangerous but a mortgage feels responsible, you'll be far more comfortable signing papers for a 30-year loan without asking the uncomfortable questions. Questions like, how much will I actually pay in interest over the life of this loan? What happens to my flexibility if my income drops? Am I buying this because it makes financial sense, or because everyone tells me this is what adults are supposed to do? Let's actually look at the math behind a mortgage using simple numbers, because this is where the myth really starts to unravel. Imagine you buy a home for $300,000 with a 30-year loan at a 7% interest rate. That sounds normal. Everyone does this. It's good debt. But over the life of that loan, you don't just pay back $300,000. You pay back nearly double that amount, once interest is included. That means the bank makes almost as much from you as the actual price of the house. Now, that doesn't mean buying a home is a bad decision. Shelter is a real need, and building equity instead of renting forever can absolutely make sense. But notice something important. The house isn't automatically good debt just because it's a house. It becomes a smart decision or a risky one depending on the interest rate, your income stability, how long you plan to stay, and whether the payment leaves room to actually build wealth elsewhere. In other words, there's no such thing as a debt that is good in every situation. There's only debt that fits your specific numbers and debt that doesn't. This is the deeper truth hiding underneath the whole good debt, bad debt idea. Debt itself is neutral. It's not good. It's not evil. It's a tool, the same way a knife is a tool. In the hands of someone who understands how to use it, a knife can prepare a meal. In the hands of someone careless, it causes harm. The knife doesn't change. The outcome depends entirely on the person holding it. Debt works the same way. A loan used to buy a rental property that generates more income than the monthly payment can build wealth. The exact same size loan used to buy a property that barely breaks even or drains your savings every month it sits empty can quietly destroy your finances. Same category, same label, completely different outcome. So if labeling debt as good or bad doesn't actually work, what should you be asking instead? Here's a simple shift in thinking that changes everything. Instead of asking, is this good debt or bad debt? Ask, does this debt make me more free or less free? Freedom, in financial terms, means flexibility. It means options. It means the ability to change jobs, move cities, take a lower-paying opportunity that leads somewhere better, or handle an emergency without panic. A loan that increases your monthly obligations to the point where you feel trapped in a job you hate just to keep up with payments is reducing your freedom, no matter what it's labeled as. A loan that helps you acquire something that produces income, appreciates reliably, or increases your ability to earn more, without stretching your monthly budget to the breaking point, is increasing your freedom. This single question cuts through the confusion far better than any label ever could. There's one more layer to this that's worth understanding because it explains why so many financially successful people seem to have a completely different relationship with debt than everyone else. People who build real wealth don't think in terms of good or bad debt. They think in terms of return versus risk. Before taking on any debt, they ask a very specific question. What is this money going to do for me, and what happens if things don't go as planned? If a loan is used to buy an asset that generates income higher than the loan payment, and there's a backup plan if that income temporarily disappears, that's a calculated risk, not blind faith in a label. If a loan is used because a bank, a school, or a car dealership simply said this is a normal and responsible thing to do, without any real analysis of the actual numbers, that's not a strategy. That's trust placed in a system that profits from that trust. This is really the core lesson hiding inside the whole good debt myth. It's not about avoiding debt completely. Debt isn't the enemy. Blind trust in labels is the enemy. So here's what this actually means for you, in practical terms. The next time you're about to take on any loan, whether it's for a car, an education, a home, or a business, stop asking whether society considers it good debt or bad debt. Instead, calculate the real cost, including interest over time. Look at how it affects your monthly cash flow, not just your long-term hopes. Ask what happens if your income drops for 3 to 6 months. And most importantly, ask whether this debt is moving you toward more freedom or quietly trading away your future flexibility for something that simply feels responsible right now. Debt isn't inherently good or bad. It's a decision, and decisions deserve real analysis, not comforting labels. The people who build lasting wealth aren't the ones who avoided every loan, and they're not the ones who blindly trusted every loan labeled as smart. They're the ones who stopped asking, is this good debt? And started asking, does the math actually work? And can I handle it if things go wrong? That single shift in thinking is worth more than any label anyone will ever give you. So the next time someone tells you that a certain kind of debt is automatically good, remember this. The bank doesn't lose sleep over your monthly payment. You do. And that's exactly why the only person who should be deciding what counts as good